Well, hi again, folks. I'm Greg Flynn, the Public Information Director here at the City of Pearl, and it is time to go under the dome, a look at what's going on over at the state legislature, and we are joined, as always, by our own distinguished gentlemen from Rankin County and the City of Pearl. We have Senator Dean Kirby and Representative Gene Newman.
Hey, y'all.
My goodness, were you guys busy last week with a deadline that came and went, and there was legislation and a whole lot of words flying across both chambers.
A lot of words. A lot of work last week.
A lot of work. So what is it, before we get into some of the individual ones, what are some of the big pieces of legislation that survived deadline or perhaps fell by the wayside?
Yeah, who remembers?
Well, I know one of them is PERS. PERS is not going to be advanced, increasing the...
Since that was on my side, let me answer that. So the problem is that PERS has not presented a plan as to how they dig themselves out of the hole they keep getting themselves into. They just keep coming to the legislature expecting us to refill their coffers, and that's not going to keep happening. And then they came in and they were going to increase the amount the cities and counties and state itself pays for anybody in the retirement system, and they were going to increase it dramatically. And that was going to put such a strain on the local municipalities and counties and school districts. I mean, you think about Pearl School District and what it was simply going to cost there for them to increase. And so it's going to be an increase in taxes, and that's all that was going to happen from that. And that's the reason we took that bill that we took and put the language for 605 into that bill. It was strong. It prevented them from putting those increases in place and without legislative approval. And so they decided that the executive director decided that they would postpone that until July of 24 to give them time to come up with a plan that would make the PERS solvent, which is what we want as the legislature. I think the Senate wants exactly the same thing. It's their job, and they need to do it, and they don't need to keep trying to dump it on us. By putting that increase in there, they were going to put it on us to make us look like we were the bad guys. They need to do their job. That's all. That's what needs to happen. So they've agreed that they would produce a plan by December the 1st to show how the PERS is going to be solvent.
Well, and one of the big things Mayor Jake Windham has been talking about with us is that it was going to increase the city percentage about how much the city was going to have to pay, increase into the PERS system up to 22%, somewhere in that neighborhood is where they wanted to take it to, which would have been almost a $500,000 hit here to the city of Pearl.
Right, $500,000 hit to the city of Pearl, $1 million hit to the school system. I think it was if I have that number right, it was going to be a $7 million hit to the Rankin County school system. So and you take the Rankin County, and you take City of Brandon, City of Flowood. Every mayor out there was screaming that something had to be done, and I don't blame them. I mean, it's wrong for them to have actuaries that are losing the kind of money that they're losing in PERS when the stock market's doing good and they're still losing money. They got to do something. They got to have a better plan than what they got. They got to do a better job in what they're doing.
Well, so they kicking the can down the road. PERS is, at least until probably next legislative session next year.
If they don't come with a plan by December the 1st, the way they said they would, come the first part of next year, they're going to see 605.1, and it's going to be worse than what they got right now. What they looked at this year.
Okay. Senator, over in the Senate, something that stand out to you that survived?
Well, of course, their bill. Let me speak on it. First off, people, I don't think really understood what their bill did, because I kept getting a lot of emails saying kill 605, kill 605. 605 was protecting the people, and I don't think they understood that. They said we don't want the legislature in charge of the PERS or our retirement, and this puts them in charge with their veto power. Well, it's the veto power is there only, and of course it was a House bill, but the way I understood it, it was there only to protect those in PERS. Now, a lot of people misunderstand things in PERS. Two things. First off, I can assure you and everyone out there that we're not going to mess with PERS and cost anyone their retirement. Well, especially since all the state employees, including legislators, are on that state retirement, except for Highway Patrol has their separate retirement program. But we're going to protect the people. In the Constitution, also it says if PERS, for some reason, can't fund what it's supposed to fund as far as payments, the legislature will or shall give them the money. We've done that twice in the last few years, 50 million, 2 times. We've had to take out of general fund to put into the PERS or retirement program. So they're protected. They're protected by the state. They're protected by their legislators. Every one of them want to make sure that the people get their checks and that we do not mess with their 13th check. So that's not going to happen. Anybody that thinks, all these rumors start flying, they're going to take a retirement, they're going to cut my retirement, I'm not going to get a 13th check this year and I depend on that 13th check. You're going to get your 13th check. The legislature is going to make sure by the Constitution, if nothing else, that you get your check. Now, the 13th check is just a cost of living increase. That's all it is. The COLA simply says that every year those people are getting a 3% pay raise. That's what it gets down to every year, and it's compounded. We actually have people that have been retired for several years. Their 13th check, and you can get it monthly, but most people want it at the end of the year. Their 13th checks are larger than their monthly retirement if you've been retired for a long period of time. So we're not going to cut people.
Well, when you talk about money and that PERS wants to be made whole, you've invested a lot. You guys are going to have a lot of big decisions to make this year, because the revenue estimates that came out late last week from the Department of Revenue really show that Mississippi is doing well. In our fiscal year, which runs through September, we're about $500 million above your revenue estimates for what you thought it would cost to run the state. So
ours is actually July 1st. I think the cities are September 1st.
That's right, the cities are. So you guys run until the end of June. Yeah. That's our state fiscal year. Calendar, state, it's all very confusing when you get into there. But yes, the state runs till the end of June. You guys are going to have a lot of money that's going to go into the rainy day fund.
We are. And there's nothing wrong with having money in savings account. As an example, if PERS were to have lost a lot of money, we've got the money. So, without having to cut other people.
Is that harder, though, as we get into the appropriations process when the other state agencies know that there's a big surplus sitting out there?
Everybody's got their hands out.
Oh, yeah. Every city, every county, every state agency wants more, and some need more. And we're going to take care of those needs, not necessarily all the wants.
Well, that's where the sausage gets made. That's where you don't want to be.
It gets tough.
Those conference committees on appropriations really get kind of interesting.
They are.
Well, talking about money and things getting contentious. I don't know if I wanted to call you guys the state legislature last week or the Jackson City Council, because the city of Jackson has dominated a lot of the work and discussion that you all have been having. And there were 2 very big issues. And I want to start with the House. Last week, there's the thought of creating a new court system for the Capitol Police, basically, for everything that they're doing, the Capitol District. And a bill came up for that in the House, which, Gene, that was
House Bill 1020,
which was really quite something.
Okay, so let's talk about House Bill 1020 and what it actually does and what the purpose of it is. So I'm going to start with the purpose. The city of Jackson has about 200 sworn police officers. They have decimated that police department. The court system over there, it's pretty much non-functional for misdemeanor charges. So if you get a ticket or you get charged with shoplifting or you get a DUI and you go to court in the city of Jackson, they don't even have a mechanism to enforce what they do. But for the few people that do show up, they don't even have. They're not even allowed to collect fines. That the agreement that they signed with the MacArthur Justice Institute prevents them from collecting fines or putting people in jail for misdemeanors. So they have a real problem there. The circuit court system is still working. It's still functional. So felonies are getting processed and getting things done. We won't talk about their judges, but the felony part still is functioning. The DA over there, Jody Owens, is doing the best that he can with what he's got. So that part of it's still working, but the misdemeanor part is not working. If you remember back years ago when in the city of New York, they had they started really changing the way policing was done, and basically something called a broken window theory. So, and that theory is that if you allow a broken window to stand, then if people break other windows and people break other windows. It's the same thing with crime. If you allow small crimes to happen and you don't do anything to them, those just keep multiplying. If you allow somebody to walk in Walmart and shoplift and you don't do anything to them, they're going right back to Walmart and do it again. So House Bill 1020 does two things. First off, it expands the district. Right now, the district has some funny lines to it, and they're not sure where they're supposed to be policing and where they're not supposed to be policing.
This is for the Capitol Police.
This is for the Capitol Police, I'm sorry, yes. The Capitol Police are not sure where they're supposed to go, so this is going to define that district a lot better. And what it's basically doing is the South District will stay the same. It goes basically down to Jackson State, and then over to the river, and then it goes north up Monument Street, then over when it gets to about, if I remember correctly, Northside Drive, it will cut over to State Street, and then it will take State Street all the way to County Line Road and then back to the river. So all of basically of Northeast Jackson will come under the Capitol Police District. And the main reason they're doing that is, number one is that the JPD doesn't have the police to patrol it, so that they can take that area. We have the Senate and the House working together has built the Capitol Police Force up enough that they have the men, and they're hiring the men and women to work those areas. So that area will be policed. That JPD can take the police that they have in those areas. They can still police them. They still work cases in there. Nothing prevents them from keeping policing them, but they will be able to take a lot of those police officers and shift them to other parts of the city so that they can get more control of the crime in those other parts of the city. The second part of the bill adds 4 judges and 4 prosecutors. Those 4 judges, they're special judges appointed by the Supreme Court. They're not elected, they are appointed by the Supreme Court, and then there's 4 prosecutors that are assigned from the Attorney General's office. And their jobs will be primarily going to be misdemeanors. Now they can handle felonies, but you know, it's not a circuit court, so there's not indictments and all that, but they're working off affidavits and stuff. So once they take a felony in, then they will move it on through the process up to circuit court and turn it over to the regular DA. But most of the misdemeanors that they'll be dealing with, and if they can take them to the Hinds County Jail, they're actually going to have a jail facility, from what I understand, at the where the old funeral home was, right across from the Capitol. They're going to have some holding, not a jail, but a holding facility in there, so that they can book people in. And then if the Hinds County Jail cannot take them, they can take them to Rankin or Madison County. But that's the function, is to make that part work, make the criminal justice system work. And that should help the Hinds County system, that should help the City of Jackson court system. It should make it all work better. There's nobody trying to take anything from anybody. We're just trying to add to. They say they kept saying they needed help with the criminal justice system. They needed help with the court system. Well, the one thing I can tell you is they have proven, the City of Jackson has proven to be bad stewards of money. We're not giving them money. That's not going to happen. But we will help them by giving them all these additional resources that will help them police the City of Jackson.
Well, one of the things that's important to point out, you talked about 200 officers for JPD. there was a study done that they need somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 to be considered effective. So down 300 officers, they do have to do something. And, we applaud the legislature for at least stepping up with the Capitol Police Force to try and plus them up, not take it away, but you're plussing them up with a force that they can hire. So that bill goes over to the Senate. Now, you guys worked on a bill.
Very similar bill. Same. Well, actually, I think ours was down in 2 bills instead of 1 bill, but same thing, expanding the district. The same with the judges, doing the same thing. Of course, the water district, everything else, pretty much we're not taking anything away from the city of Jackson. We're trying to help the city of Jackson. They've asked for help. We're trying to do it, but we're going to be very accountable in what we do. And I'll say this, for the Capitol Police that Gene mentioned, they are doing a fantastic job. I'm having people from Jackson say, thank you very much. Now the city, as far as the city government itself, I don't know what they're doing, but I know this, anything in the last few years, any money that we've given Jackson, we've had oversight committees to make sure the money's being spent where it's supposed to be, and sometimes it's still not. But most of the time now it is. So with the oversight committee and with Capitol Police, the judges and the other things that we're doing, we're hoping to make Jackson the city that it used to be.
So the odds are that,
or better,
this will wind up in conference weekend. That bill will wind up there, and you all are confident that something will come out of that conference committee, that it will be passed.
I have no doubts that something will come out of that.
Well, they keep saying that all these guys live out of town. Most of these out of town legislators live in Jackson for 3 months out of the year, or 4 months on the first year. And they come here every month, 2 or 3 days, 4 or 5 days sometimes. They have hearings and stuff down here. They're constantly coming in and out of here. So they're in Jackson a lot, and they want to come to Jackson and feel like they're safe. And when they want their constituents to be able to come to Jackson and feel like they're safe.
They want water and safety.
Yeah, and it's a water issue, which I think they dealt with more than we did, but that's a whole separate issue.
Well, the hotly debated issue over in the House was the Capitol Police Force and the Capitol District. For you all, it was creating a new regional authority for the Jackson Water, and it's just making them accountable and bringing everybody together with an objective third party to run the water system in Jackson, right?
That's correct.
But there was a big old hubbub over that.
They said, one even made the comment, you're trying to do the same thing you did at the airport. Well, the airport, as you know, is still the city of Jackson. The mayor still appoints the majority of the board. We just said that people had to be qualified to serve on the board. That's all we were trying to do. We weren't trying to take any money. We weren't trying to do anything. We're trying to make it a better airport. And they're trying to take it away from us. So, no, we don't want to take it away from them. They may force us someday to, but that wasn't our intent. And neither is it on the regional water deal. I mean, of course, they wanted a bill, as you know, that you would pay a water bill based on the area of your home. We passed a bill saying no, it'll be based on consumption. The more you use, the more you pay. The less you use, the less you pay. That's the way it should be. You pay for what you use.
So when we look at this regional water authority, confident that I know it did pass out of the Senate. Are we confident that something is going to come out of that, or will this be?
No, I think something's going to come out of that. I mean, they've got to do something. We can't just leave it like it is, because whenever this $600 million gets spent and the federal guy goes away, then that's when this regional authority would take over. And if we don't do something, we'll be right back to where we were with the water system in no time.
It's just one of those things, and you hear the opponents of the bills that are out there. It's like, well, you're taking away the sovereignty of the city. You're taking away, the citizens voted these people in, and that they're in charge, and that they should be running everything. They should be, running the police department. But from what I'm hearing, most of the folks that have the proponents of these bills is just like, Jackson has shown no ability to manage
That's correct.
either the police department or the utilities, right?
Well, this is ineptness for the city of Jackson. You have a lot of other cities that all over the state that are run by Democrats. They don't have these problems. Every place has some kind of a crime problem because with this fentanyl and meth and all that stuff, there's crime everywhere. But they don't have the kind of problems they have in Jackson. They don't have the water system's not completely broke. It's not, everybody's got deteriorating water, but it's not falling apart.
Give you an example. City, they say they're losing $40 million a year. $40 million a year, the city of Jackson's losing on water. Now, part of that is they have the money to put the new meters in. The old meters didn't work, so they get money for the new meters. They've only put in half of them. And so when are you going to put another half? Well, we hadn't decided yet. Well, you're losing money. Don't you think you should? And you can't get an answer.
Well, and then it comes, from a lot of the things that people have said, it then comes down to enforcement of getting people to pay the bills that they're sent. So that when you do get a bill, that you got to make sure people pay it.
That's right. And then yet you have people that are getting $2,500 water bills on an empty house. It makes no sense. It's something that's way wrong.
So
and we want to help them.
Is it fair to say that at the end of this legislative session, this could be one of the most transformative years for our capital city with the legislation that would be coming out?
I would think so. I mean, I may have said this on this before, but how about Ocean Springs, that was the oldest city in the state? How about Natchez? How about Vicksburg? How about all these old cities? Why aren't they having these problems? Can't just say, oh, Jackson's an old city, they've got wood pipes underground. Well, whose fault is that? That's certainly not the legislature.
Deferred maintenance. I mean, you just kick that
the
can
other
down the
cities
road.
have replaced it. Yeah, so and I don't, I'm not blaming all of this on the current administration in Jackson. They haven't taken care of business for some time.
But this could be very transformative for our capital city. You agree?
I think so.
Big time.
I think we can make a real difference, but we're not going to give the money to them to do it.
And it's only fair that you were saying you've tried the oversight.
Yes.
And so even if you threw another $1 billion at it,
But
you still have to make sure that it's being spent where it was intended to be spent.
But Greg, we need the oversight. We don't need to give them money and then it all go to attorneys and engineers and after that not have any money to do the project. And I'm afraid that may have come close to happening.
And that's, why they are where they are.
All they do is do studies and studies and studies.
And then somebody's going to eventually, I guess they would probably forgive it, but the EPA has $250 million or something like that in fines that are sitting out there for polluting the Pearl River when the wastewater was, and still continues to go down the Pearl River downstream, down south. So, somebody has to pay the fines, the $250 million, and that's one of the reasons why West Rankin was created, from what I understand, is because we didn't want the money to go to pay those fines
exactly
and then to put the Scotch tape on the wastewater plant because it wasn't going to get fixed, because then there wouldn't be enough money either way.
Well, when you have what was reported in the paper, I believe, when you have 50 million gallons a week, 200 million gallons a month of raw sewage going to the Pearl River, that's serious. And then you can go and check ours and see looks like drinking water coming out. And I mean,
Well,
I'm just glad we have really good mayors and county officials.
it was a hot
And
week.
we do.
It was a hot week last week. What do we have coming up now that that deadline is passed? What are you guys looking to do with the next?
We've sent them all our bills, and they've sent us all their bills. Of course, out of 3,000 bills, there's probably about 300 or less left, and we'll be starting back committee work again.
Yeah, we're getting into the money bills now, appropriations and finance. Of course, we're not going to have any bonds because we're not charging anything. We've got extra money. We're paying our bills instead of using the credit card, I guess you could say. So, and we've paid off like $600 million of debt in the last 2 years, which is a great thing for our state. It helps in bond ratings when we do need to borrow money, and we can get it at the lowest possible cost.
Well, we're going to cut these guys a break. Next week we've got President's Day here in the city. You guys will be working up there at the Capitol, but these gentlemen will be back in 2 weeks' time after all the committees get to do some of the work after the bills have come across. So there'll be a lot to talk about as they get ready to send these bills to conference. And conference weekend will be...
well, right now it's set for the April 1st, that weekend.
Well, yeah, the weekend before.
Yeah.
Because April 1st or 2nd, we're supposed to get out.
April 3rd. April 3rd is kind of sine die. So, yeah, the weekend before April 1st.
I hope that we can take care of business, get out like 5 days, at least 5 days early, and save the taxpayers money. So we're willing to work at night. You know, you were talking about your holiday that you guys get. A lot of people don't know this, but legislators do not get a holiday. I mean, if it's a whatever holiday during session, we work, which not only do we work, but all the staff works as well. So yeah, it's straight through.
And it feels like you're working on a meat packing plant. It's just, I'm surprised you guys don't come in with those white butcher coats on and the white booties over there.
They say it's like making sausage,
It
right?
really is.
It's an ugly sight, but it's good results.
It is, and then we hope as we hit Easter, something glorious comes out of the packaging, right?
I hope so.
All right, well, you gentlemen, continue fighting the good fight. We appreciate you. You
Thank
represent Pearl not only with integrity and all of Rankin County, but you do the state's business in keeping all Mississippians' interests in mind. So we can't thank you enough for that.
Gene and I both try to do what's right and what our constituents want. And sometimes there's misunderstandings, and we know that. But we work hard. He works hard. I work hard. We try to do the right thing. And as long as you try to do the right thing and pray about it and make sure you're doing the right thing, then you'll be okay.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Appreciate your time.
You guys can track any of the bills that we talk about or see other legislation that is still active over in the legislature by going to their website, legislature.ms.gov. And you can also find the contact information for not only Representative Newman, but for Senator Kirby and all of the legislators working up there if you would like to contact them, as well as their office phone numbers. That's going to do it for this edition of Under the Dome. We will see you again next time.